Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. And I've got a great episode planned for you. It's not even going to take that long. If you've already seen the thumbnail, you know exactly what direction I'm headed into. Before I dive into this content, though, do me a huge favor, like this video. Liking the video helps us cruise along Algorithm Avenue, helps us get into the presence of individuals just like yourself who may be interested in seeing this kind of content. Also, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell as well to be notified as to when my newest episodes are uploaded. Man, I'm so excited to get this episode off. I'm stumbling all over my words. You know what I'm saying? So, not to belabor the point, unless you've been living under a rock, you are unaware of this situation. And when I say living under a rock, I mean like a boulder for maybe the last almost year, few years actually, as I'll chart. I'm entitling today's episode, Bronny James's biggest enemy is his father's ego. Absolutely going there today. Yo. So, unless again you live under a rock, man, you are unaware that Bronny James, son of LeBron James Jr., was drafted into the NBA by the LA Lakers. And, this past draft season, so 24 of 2024, summer of 2024. And a lot of chatter has come as a result. So, just recently some things happened with, a bunch of criticism that kind of boiled, to a head from one Stephen A. Smith and a LeBron James confrontation, which I'm going to dig into here. Not necessarily the confrontation itself, but just an overall picture. I'm going to get into some reactions from, one of my favorite people, Candace Owens, who I was surprised to hear weigh in on the situation. Also, I'm going to share with you just, her perspective fits what I feel like. You're either on the LeBron James side of this or you're on the Stephen A. Smith side of this. And I don't think that there's really any in between. What I really feel like is that if you're on the LeBron James side of it, your position is solid in, your feel good belief system of the daddy heroics, etc. And then for those who are on the opposing side, they're more realists, kind of looking at the full scope of the thing. And if that offends you, don't be offended. Don't click off the video. Actually open your mind and enjoy the content as shared. I'm going to break down exactly what I mean here. But I'm going to get into a bit of a story, first and foremost. So, story time. So a few years ago, LeBron James went on record by saying, in front of the media, in a press con or in, the media kind of after the game, presser, he went on record saying things like, we were saying, LeBron, how much longer do you see yourself sticking around? LeBron's like, well, man, I mean, it would be nice to stick around long enough to play with my boy. Like that would be like, everything for me. That would be like the ultimate dream fulfilled. And it was noble when he stated it. I'll have to admit, I thought it was a bit of a long stretch. I was like, man, could LeBron James possibly stick around long enough to play with his son? And then he doubled down on it and he said it a few more times after that. Naturally, after him saying it, it becomes national headlines because it's the chatter all over sports media, whether independent back then or in the mainstream media, where folks are being like, man, LeBron James could possibly play with his son. Like, how great would that be? And so there was just a lot of chatter, surrounding it. Fast forward to, LeBron James making comments to closer, when he initially made the comments, I'll say, Bronny was maybe a sophomore in high school. And then the closer that he got to this potentially happening, LeBron James, I'd say within a year or so of Bronny making it into the league, LeBron James will go on record by saying things like, Bronny's better than some of my teammates right now. He could suit up and play for the Lakers and play meaningful minutes. He went on record by saying, I quote, a tweet saying that, Man, Bronny better than some of these cats that I'm sorry, man. Bronny definitely better than some of these cats I've been watching on League Pass today. Shit, lightweight hilarious. And he continued to make these kinds of statements that some could deem, well, it's just him encouraging his son, right? Being and the kind of dad that wants to speak life into his kid and to motivate his kid and inspire his kid. Naturally, you know what I mean? I'm not going to tell my kid or say about my kid like my kid could never play in this league. And it's like, yeah, some things don't have to be tweeted. Some things can be said behind closed doors and don't necessarily need to be said out loud. Some things can be just kept between you and your son, not for the whole world to consume. And because of that, the world was put on notice. One, because he kept saying, man, I'd love to play with my son. Secondarily, because he's like, man, my son better than some of these players, some of my teammates right now. My man, Bronny, definitely better than some of these cats I'm watching on League Pass, and I shit lightweight hilarious. And so, for that reason, it painted a target on the kid's back because folks wanted to see it. We're like, well, all right, well, let's see. LeBron seems to think so. Many think he's some kind of basketball savant, some brilliant mind, of basketball. That, man, if the great LeBron James is saying it, it must be true. And so this is what fans came to expect through expectations built by LeBron James himself. Fast forward, summer season of Bronny entering USC after high school. Prior to entering USC, though, I'm going to go back and say, man, your man's pulling strings to get Bronny into the McDonald's All-American game with a less than 15 point per game average. Bronny didn't even deserve to be there, but that's neither here nor there. Summer season, while practicing with the team, headed into his freshman year at USC, Bronny suffered a cardiac arrest. All of our hearts went out to Bronny. I don't care who you are, who you were. Like, everybody's praying for this kid. Like, it was just this moment of compassion for the entire nation. Like, understanding that this kid had a heart, his literally heart start beating. That's what a cardiac arrest is. Like, this kid essentially died on the court, during a basketball practice. But fortunately, I believe they were at UCLA working out at the time. So fortunately, or maybe USC, they were actually on campus at USC. So maybe I'm misstating it here, but regardless, the medical team on present on site was able to administer care to him. They got him to the hospital, man, and obviously Bronny would go on to be saved from the cardiac arrest. So understanding that, still waits through medical testing, et cetera, before he could actually play a game at USC. I believe USC played 31 games or something like that. I quoted in another video, so I'm going off memory here. I can be fact checking. It's okay. But Bronny would miss like 6 games. So he'd play in all but like 6 games for that season. Many have tried to use that as an excuse too. I'm just stating the facts here, or just giving some backstory. But after a subpar freshman season that only saw him average less than 5 points a game, let's say, and NBA scouts during or even before the NBA Combine, where Bronny participated, were saying things like, "Man, this kid, he'd be lucky to get drafted second round, but yeah, he's not ready." And so they're literal NBA scouts who are paid to scout talent, observe talent. Not that they always get it right, but they were saying, nah, man, kid needs to go back to school, essentially, which is what everybody was thinking. Like, okay, cool. There's no hurry. Like, man, kid, go back to school. And so instead of him going back to school for his, second year in college, Bronny declares for the NBA draft. Essentially, LeBron James pulled strings to get Bronny drafted by the Lakers. Lakers exercised their 55th draft pick to draft Bronny James into the NBA, that he might be teammates with LeBron James. Now, some might say, no, I knew he didn't. But LeBron James literally and his camp went on record, Rich Paul being his agent and friend, went on record by saying, and it was stated by Bob Myers on ESPN or ABC on the airwaves during the draft, stating that sources told him that Bronny's handlers were on the phone with them saying, or on the phone with various teams saying, do not draft him. If you draft him, we're going to send him to Australia. Nobody is to touch him. Supposing that other teams were interested in Bronny, which, whatever. However, as it ultimately stood, the reality is Bronny was drafted by the LA Lakers, number 55 overall. Congratulations to Bronny. Whatever. We all understood it as nepotism, even though the immediate media spin from even the likes of a Stephen A. Smith and, Woj at the time were like, yeah, man, what people saying? Nepotism, nepotism. They were flying this nepotism flag like nepotism happens everywhere. It's okay. And trying to get the general public, the fan, to be okay with this idea of LeBron James abusing his power because he somehow deserved to play with his son in the NBA. He had earned the right to do so if he wanted to, even though players are drafted into the NBA because of skill. It's a meritocracy here. You have to earn your way in, not have daddy pull some strings to get you in. And so that was a big point of contention for a lot of people. It started then with people saying, hey, bro, this ain't cool. Others saying, man, why y'all mad? Bron just being a good dad. Who wouldn't want to say, hey, your kid set up to be like a millionaire? Why y'all mad? It's like conflating the two different things. Kid didn't earn his way there. He doesn't deserve to be there. He's taking a job from somebody else who's worked hard, that's actually qualified to be there, potentially, was the argument. Fast forward through the summer. I know for certain that Stephen A. Smith was hands off, not saying anything about Bronny James. He participates in Summer League and the California Classic, rather, first, stinks up the joint. Participated in Summer League, stinks up the joint, essentially. Preseason, stinks up the joint, essentially. And so everybody was saying, like, bro, this dude is proven exactly what we thought, that he wasn't ready for the NBA level. Not that he can't play basketball, but just that he's not ready for the NBA. Not that he wouldn't develop into being a good player at some point, but that he wasn't ready for the NBA. I'm just stating the facts, man. Don't get butthurt or bent out of shape with me. I'm just stating the facts. These were the arguments based on what we saw and what we had surmised from what we'd seen. Fast forward to the regular season, opening night. LeBron and Bronny have this father-son moment that everybody wanted to see. They take the court, become the first father-son duo to play in an NBA game. Wonderful. Wasn't really that big of a deal. Wasn't as big a deal as they thought it was going to be. But the reality is, it is what LeBron James wanted. It is what they orchestrated. It happened, right? So that moment happens, and it was already understood from Rich Paul, Bronny's agent and LeBron's agent, of Clutch Sports, that Bronny wasn't signed. He did not want Bronny to sign a two-way contract. He wanted Bronny to sign an actual contract, which in his words would show a commitment from the organization to actually develop Bronny. That was his words. No two-way contract, nothing. It was reported that they fought tooth and nail to keep Bronny away from G League. Like, nah, bro. LeBron's position was even. He's not going to learn anything there. I want him here with us so that he can learn. Thinking that the development with the team, time with the team, will be better than him going down to the G League, as though the G League was some kind of a demotion for him when kid didn't even fucking earn his way into the NBA. Neither here nor there. As time went on, Bronny would eventually, it will be announced he would only play in G League home games. And then finally, he was allowed to start traveling with the G League team and road games. Ultimately, in the G League, he began to play a little bit better, still making appearances, being called up by the Lakers sometimes to play in games. You guys all caught up? Wonderful. At some point in a game versus Philadelphia, Stephen A. Smith, after this game, where Bronny was inserted into the game in the first quarter, did not have a good game by any long stretch and was getting barbecued out there by actual NBA stars, guns, grown-ass men out there playing ball. Bronny out there just like a fish out of water. He's young. He's only the 55 draft, number 55 pick in the draft. You know what I mean? Like, go easy on him, Q. I'm not going hard on him. I'm just saying, as I've said, it was understood already that he did, but that he just wasn't ready. And he didn't belong there. So he didn't belong out there on the court. But let the kid play though. It's Bron's son. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? Pull up at Planet or LA Fitness or something if you want to watch the kid hoop. But in the NBA, he just didn't belong. He didn't belong, bro. He's barely belonged in college. That's the reality. It's not me hating. I'm just saying, based on his production, based on what we saw, he should have taken more time on the college level. But neither here nor there. Afterwards, Stephen A. Smith will go on record and say some things. I don't want to paraphrase here. Let's get into what Stephen A. Smith said exactly, and then I'll come back and I'll offer my opinion.
We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad. I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this.
Man, how dare you, Stephen A? How dare Stephen A? How dare Stephen A keep it real? How dare Stephen A reveal the truth that we all know that Bronny is in the NBA because his father got it? How dare you speak the truth? Is it your job or something to tell the truth? Is it your job? It certainly ain't your job, Stephen A, to beg this man as a father to stop doing this, stop exposing your kid to a league that he's not qualified for, to pull the plug on this sideshow, to not subject your child to the scrutiny of, you know what I mean, or the amount of scrutiny that was sure to continue to come that could potentially deflate him in terms of his confidence. How dare you, Stephen A. Smith? Fuck you think you are? Some kind of a sports pundit? Some person who's paid to criticize sports figures and to report on the sports and to tell it like it is? You think you earn $100 million or so to tell people your opinion? That's exactly who he is. That's exactly what he does. That's who the man is. And so, lo and behold, as a result of Stephen A's comments, last Thursday, LeBron James decides to confront Stephen A. Smith courtside at the Lakers-Knicks game. Out of pocket, LeBron James confronts Stephen A. Smith. Coward, and a display of cowardice, if you ask me. However, again, the reviews on him doing so have been incredibly mixed. Incredibly mixed. There are those who agree Stephen A. violated, crossed the line. What Stephen A. said went beyond reporting sports, and he crossed the line because he brought up this man's son. And so LeBron James was saying to him, you know what I mean? Keep my son out of this shit. He could be singing, mouthing the words. Fast forward to Saturday. In Saturday's game, the Lakers versus the Celtics, LeBron James is out there having a conversation with former teammate Richard Jefferson and now NBA analyst about the situation. You can see him, saying likewise, or hear him if you find a good enough clip. Man, yeah, just that stuff about the father, man. When I heard that, you know what I mean, bro, I just can't. I can't. So implying that the impetus for him approaching Stephen A. Smith, again, was the fact that he mentioned LeBron James as a father. And so that set him off. That sent him in this space to be like, nah, bro, I'm going to check this about what he's saying, right? And so, again, man, to me, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm not even just talking about the act itself, but even to go as far as to be like it's all good, like you know what I'm saying, like you know what I'm saying, homie, you know what I mean? I just couldn't take it, bro. I can't, bro. I can't. I'm gonna say this. allowing LeBron James or any sports figure, especially a guy in the shoes of a LeBron James, who is still, for all intents and purposes, the face of the NBA, to approach a media member, damn near, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, verbally accosting them in front of the world is a bad look for the NBA. It sets a terrible precedence as well, giving others license to think that it's cool to run up on a critic just because they said something that you didn't like. It's not cool. The NBA should fine LeBron. They should fine LeBron, and they should also suspend him for his behavior, bro, because it's not cool. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree, but I'm telling you that act in and of itself, having other people see it, other players see it, and be like, oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna do the next time somebody say something. I run into that joker, be it Stephen A. Smith or anybody else who said something weird about me. I'm a jump, you know what I mean, and check. And all I'm saying is that the situation might not play out like this situation did, depending on who you run up on, depending on what kind of energy the player or the person they run up on have, who's with them, who's viewing, you know what I mean, who's there to protect them even. Might not play out as peaceful as this did. And so I think the league should take punitive actions. You can feel however you want to feel about that. But beyond that, I wanted to go into a bit of commentary from one Candace Owens, who, you know, kind of weighed in. A bunch of folks have weighed in about the LeBron James situation and that confrontation. But I wanted to just kind of get into some comments from Candace and her opinion on it and her take, because she just raised a few really, really good points. It's almost like a mom's, you know what I mean, kind of a perspective here, but a shared perspective of a bunch of us fathers also, you know, on either sides of the divide, either for LeBron or against the bullshit. Take a look, listen to Candace, and then I'll come back and I'll share my opinion.
Keep my son out of this ish, bro. So like he pulled the Will Smith to Stephen A. Smith. Keep my wife's name out your mouth, bro. And that obviously is meant to be intimidating. And if you are saying, keep my son out of this ish, then your son should not be in this ish. That's it. That's how this works. Again, this is the free market. It's competition. If you think he can't handle the criticism, then he should not be on the court. Okay. So this is a scenario where you have this angry dad because his son isn't good enough. And now you're blaming the umps, you're blaming the referees, you're blaming Stephen A. Smith for noticing that your son didn't do anything. And it's also kind of this archetype of a guilty dad. Like the reason why he is so angry, usually when people are expressing anger, it's because you're hitting upon a truth, right? You're hitting upon a truth. He heard Stephen A. Smith. He heard his words. He heard that it's true. He heard and recognized those words to be true. And he knows that his son is going to hear these words and recognize that it's true. He's forcing his son into this embarrassment. And how foolish to say or to suggest that, well, he's not making the calls. He's not the one putting him in. No, he's just the one who essentially said, I won't even play. I won't even play unless I'm able to play alongside my son. The money means nothing to me. There was no offer the Lakers could give me that meant more to me than playing alongside my son. You were selfish, LeBron. That is the reality. You did something that was selfish because you wanted it, and now your son is dealing with the brunt of your decision making. Dave Portnoy, I thought, summed this up quite brilliantly on X when he tweeted this. He tweeted, my heart aches for Bronny James. The poor kid doesn't belong in the NBA. He can't quit. He didn't ask for this. His dad created an impossible situation for him. He's a make-a-wish kid in the NBA. I just hope his dad's insatiable ego doesn't ruin his love for this beautiful game. I agree with that. That is a totally sensible commentary. Bronny doesn't actually deserve any of this heat, but LeBron fully does. And that's why he's so angry. He knows he deserves this. It is an insatiable ego that put your son in this circumstance in the first place. And he's just basically saying, stop noticing. Pretend my son is brilliant at this game to make me happy in my final years on the court. And people are not going to do that. But I want to say this. You can be mad at me all you want. When you give people opportunities or put them into circumstances that they haven't actually earned, when it's not a meritocracy and you force someone into a position that they haven't actually earned and you artificially place them into places that they don't belong, disaster, it can be the only endpoint. It's exactly what's happening with Bronny, right? You've artificially placed him amongst a group of people that he's not supposed to be with. He can't play at this level. Bronny is making this mistake. He is making this mistake. His father, rather, LeBron James, is making this mistake. He is actually harming his son, giving his son this like deflated sense that he doesn't deserve because he's actually a good basketball player. You know, he's a good basketball player. He's just not ready and never has been ready to be in the NBA. And then there's this, by the way, I want to say this. If you are going to make the argument that your child does deserve to be there still, LeBron James, you should know that when you do something like that, it makes it 10 times harder for him. Okay? Because that's daddy crying. That's like daddy saying like, we're rich and powerful and you will do and say and give my son the grades that he deserves, even though he doesn't deserve them. And now he's got to go back to the G League team. Everybody's watched this moment. Everybody knows this moment is about him. And what do you think how that feels? When the dad freaks out at the Little League game and he yells at someone, the commentator, the ump, whoever it is, how do you think that child feels when he goes amongst his playmates after that? He feels more out of place. He feels like he's not wanted. He feels like everybody is looking at him like, oh, well, you know, I would correct your game, but I don't want your daddy to yell at me. I don't want your daddy to come and scream at me. Like, come on, man. This is just the price of success and fame. And if you think about this trade-off, I don't really feel bad for Bronny, okay? Because his life is amazing. He is one of the most privileged people ever. He's even in the NBA because of his remarkable privilege. And so if the worst thing you think your son has to deal with in life is a little bit of criticism, then you are way too privileged, LeBron James. I mean, like, there's like real life happening outside of the NBA. It's okay. He will survive Stephen A. Smith criticizing him, rightfully so. If this is his cross to bear in life, your father is so famous that people are noticing that you don't belong in the room that your father put you in. Yeah, I'd say that is it's a pretty good life. So LeBron, stop crying. Seriously, stop crying. And Bronny, I hope you're able to get out of this situation in some regard. And just know that I agree with everybody saying that the issue really is your father. It's not you. And you shouldn't allow this to make you think that you don't have worth. You're just in the wrong room. And secondly, you shouldn't allow this to make you hate the game or dislike the game or want to run away from the game because you were good. You just didn't need daddy to give you a leg up in life.
You were good. You just didn't need daddy to give you a leg up in life, yo. And so, now Bronny doesn't even actually want to play basketball. LeBron James said it himself. You know, Bronny made a name for himself streaming, playing video games, etc. During COVID, and then from there, just like became literally magazine covers, etc. He got for being one of the top gamers in the country, and so. What's really interesting is, again, to me, is this idea that, oh, well, I want to play with my son. And you know what I mean? Like that's that. And then the position taken from those, who share the similar mindset that it's okay because it's LeBron, you know what I'm saying? And man, if that's what he wants, then that's what he gets. And why are you guys bent out of shape about it? I forgot, that Candace reminded me of while I was going through the story time piece. I forgot to mention or neglected to mention that LeBron James, after stating and creating all this media hoopla about playing with his son, literally went on record. He can be quoted as mentioning, I am going to go wherever Bronny is, like any team. It's almost like he made a statement to leverage Bronny getting into the league by saying essentially like, yo, anybody who's interested in drafting Bronny, you can guarantee that I'm gonna be there on that team. I don't care where it is. Whoever drafts him, I'm gonna sign with you. You know what I mean? The money is not even the issue here. I'm literally coming to whatever team signs Bronny. So he tried to again use his power, even in that regard, as a leverage piece. Fucking despicable, bro. But that neither here nor there. I just wanted to get into those comments from Candace because Candace just expresses the one side. it's the anti LeBron James is in the right here position, which many of us hold firm to. We are pro Stephen A. Smith calling out the bullshit. Many of you are pro LeBron James, and that's okay. But I want to get into a bit of a back and forth that I had on YouTube in the comment section, inviting you guys to comment as well and dive into the comments. Have a great time. I wasn't even on my own video. I'm in somebody else's comments arguing with somebody, or not arguing, so to speak, just challenging the pro LeBron side. And so I'm going to share that with you. That exchange went as follows. Said by this person, whomever they are, you are disingenuous. Granted, he critiqued his ability in the NBA, but he also questioned LeBron's role as a father. And at that moment, the line was drawn. That person said to me. I respond back, that was a bad move for a father, regardless of how you view it. He puts his son in the line of fire in a professional league that he's not skilled enough to play in. Set that poor kid up to be criticized, and dare we admit failure. Some great parents in there, huh? I was responded back to, your opinion is very skewed. The problem has never been the critique of Bronny James and his ability on the court. The issue with Stephen A. questioning LeBron James's ability as a father, that is a line that men don't cross. You never make professional critique personal. Talk about the son's performance and move on. Okay. I respond, okay. Even if that's the case, the reality is LeBron pulled strings to get his unqualified son into a league of pros, right? So what's wrong with saying that? What's wrong with saying that? He writes me a book report in response. You still don't understand the argument. This is simply blissful ignorance. You simply don't criticize a fellow man's ability to be a father. It's an ad hominem attack, and any self-respecting man with a untarnished reputation will fight back. With regards to his son, Bronny James, Bronny is very qualified to be in the league, and having him as a 55th pick in the second round draft suggests that. He has such criticism upon him simply because he's the son of LeBron James. If you disagree, where's the critique of the first 10 picks of his class? I'm going to stop right there really quick because I just want to address something. And this is why you can't let bullshit slide. Because LeBron James pulled strings to get his son drafted number 55 overall by the Lakers. And so this pro LeBron person and these pro LeBron people like to continue to use that as like clearly he deserves to be in the league. He got drafted 55, as though they don't understand that LeBron James pulled strings to make that happen. And it fucks me up every time, bro. It really pisses me off. It really does. Because the blissful ignorance that he spoke about, it's just annoying, bro. So anyway, back to his comments. Where's the critique for the first 10 picks of his class? Where's the critique of the last draft pick of the first round? Where's the critique of the 55th pick of any draft class? There's none. So even at your argument, his criticism is heavy-handed, and Stephen A. is simply attacking him that much because he's the son of the greatest player of the game today. Maybe you agree. I still disagree. I respond. Ha ha ha. You're that guy, I see. You're choosing not to acknowledge that LeBron is the key to Bronny being in the league by abusing power to selfishly live out his dream of playing alongside his unqualified son. I don't care how you feel about it. The facts are the facts. Blissfully ignore that major fact and thing that makes this situation unique. Likewise, being the fuel for criticism. Identifying other draft picks and comparing them to Bronny is moot. Their dads did not pull strings to get them in the league, sir. Come on, man. He responds, I won't go into this rabbit hole with you. We can choose to disagree with the path Bronny came into the league, but that doesn't make your position on Stephen A. Smith right. And that's the point of the conversation we're having, buddy. I retort, that is the issue anyone, including Stephen A. Smith, has with Bronny, his dad, and the path. Accept that and stop choosing to base LeBron's reaction to criticism on some justifiable fatherhood heroics. He started all of the negative backlash with his antics past and present. It paints him in as a terrible father for putting his son in a bad position. Lashing out at Stephen A. Smith doesn't earn him brownie points, my friend. Nice try, but no. So again, man, it's just so wild. The pro LeBron people versus the pro Stephen A. speaking the truth. Damn, Stephen A. didn't really say anything like ridiculously out of line here. He only said what everybody else sees, but maybe is afraid to say, that fucking Bronny is not qualified to be in the NBA. Nobody's saying he's a bad kid. Nobody's not, failing to acknowledge that he had a cardiac arrest situation. But if I hear one more person bring it up, I'm going to choke him. I'm going to choke him, bro, because if that's the case, then he doesn't need to be in the league. That's even further cements the case that he doesn't need to be in the NBA right now. Correct? Cool. Don't ignore that LeBron James got his son into the league and try to somehow, but that don't count. That don't matter. Stephen A. Smith still crossed the line. Wait, well, there wouldn't have been a line to cross if LeBron James didn't pull strings to get the kid into the league. And so we're going to keep going back to the actual source because that's the problem. The problem is right there. So if we just eliminate the cancer, we cut it out, cut the cancer out, then the body is free from the cancer. The NBA will be free from so they need to have to criticize Bronny. Ain't nobody going to follow him around now. Nobody going to say anything about him. He's not in the league. You put the spotlight on this kid to be criticized, bro. What's wrong with you? It's ridiculous. Last but not least, Stephen A. Smith went on Gil's Arena earlier today, and he obviously, you know what I mean? This thing is still relatively fresh as a news story. He made some statements regarding it in a space for discourse and having a conversation. Kenya Martin weighed in, Gilbert Arenas weighed in, Rashard McCants weighed in, said a whole bunch of things. Got to go check out the full episode of Gil's Arena. I don't even typically watch Gil's live streams because they're just so long. 2-3 hours to be sitting up playing around in their live streams. But I watched today because Stephen A. Smith was going to be present and I wanted to hear what he was going to say. Gilbert Arenas makes the point that, keep in mind Bronny's, LeBron James' son, LeBron James Jr. Bronny's dream was to play in the NBA. So all he wanted to do was to hear his name called. They almost lost him. He almost died because of that cardiac arrest situation. He almost died. So because we did not lose him, LeBron James like, man, look, I'm going to pull out all the stops to make this happen right now. This kid deserves it because he almost died, yo. So I don't want to waste no time. I want to make sure that I make his dream come true. Yo, I'm a father. If my son or daughter wanted anything that I could make happen, I would literally, consider anyway, moving heaven or hell to give them that thing. I would still have to weigh that against the reality of what giving them that thing while moving heaven and hell to do it for them, what the reality actually, looks like and how that plays out for them. But I can be touched by LeBron if, that be the case. Being like, nah, bro, I'm going to make sure that I make his dream come true. Fits while people keep calling this kid a Make-A-Wish kid. That neither here nor there. That was Gil's position. Kenya Martin then speaks up and says, bro, that's cool, but allow Bronny to be drafted if his dream was just to hear his name called. Allowing it to happen organically would have made it a much better story, and it would have kept the criticism at bay. Because, man, a team decided to take a shot at him. Ain't nothing to criticize now. Now he's lumped in with all the rest of the kids who got picked up. It's like, literally to pick on him at that point would have been like, bro, what the fuck? Why y'all picking on Bronny when you ain't said nothing about anybody else? But with the case, as I've laid out the evidence so far, all the reality of what actually happened, with LeBron James making all these statements about how he's better than everybody else, going to get him into the league, it played out to be a negative. And so that is the point that Kenya was speaking out against, to be like, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? Allowed to happen organically. And so I just wanted to say that to give some backstory, because it is at that point where I'm going to, I kind of clipped a bit of the live as it was going on. So I'm going to share with you where the conversation picks up from there. And then I'll come back and I'll offer my opinion in closing.
That's what I'm saying.
Who cried?
I'm happy for him. I did.
No. Who cried when Bronny got drafted?
I didn't watch
They
it.
said it was Bronny. I thought I saw him crying.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure he did.
His only dream was to hear his name
called.
That's
Yes,
it.
I'm with you. I'm saying yes, Gil. Yes, absolutely. Hear his name called for any fucking team.
Right.
For any team. Right?
Right.
For any team.
But here's what he's saying. He said any team, right? Which means that when we're talking about the Lakers, that's about LeBron, not Bronny. Bronny wanted to get drafted by any NBA team. He wanted to hear his name. It was LeBron that wanted him as his teammate. So what I'm saying is, when you, because of the reasons you pointed out.
Yes,
So what I'm saying to you is, if LeBron had rolled up on me, this is all he had to say, because I said this to Rich Paul when Rich Paul called me. I said, Rich Paul, I only asked for grace in one level, on one point. If you had called me and said, Bron, pissed off, motherfucker mad as hell, he wants to see you man to man. I said, what would I have done? Rich Paul said, you'd have hung up the phone and you'd flew to LA. I said, thank you. So my point is, rather than come up to me at courtside, all you had to do was say, yo, I need you to stay, don't leave this game. I need you to see you after the game. That's all he had to say to me. Then as we speak, he says that, let's take an example, he said what you just said. Yeah. I stand down. My bad. And not only that, I'm gonna make sure I go on the air. I ain't look at it that way. That's on me. You didn't do that shit. You said you fucking with my son. No, I wasn't. I was talking about you. I was talking about you. It wasn't about your son. I know he's number 55. I know he got work to do. Woo. I believe that he got potential. Yeah. I believe that he got the potential to go pro. I truly believe that. It's going to be tough, but I think he could pull it off. And by the way, I'm rooting for him. I ain't rooting against nobody. But I was talking about your ass. You did this. You the one that had us as reporters, as a league, as an NBA franchise. All of us got to sit back and be quiet and capitulate to your shit.
Come on now.
You did that. And so when I see people talking, and I'm like, oh my God, can somebody? I mean, I know I got a show, and I know I got my podcast, but I'm like, goddamn, y'all, I'm fair. I don't give a fuck who it is. It's you, it's you, it's you. It don't matter who it is. Damn it, I'm just meeting you. If somebody unfair to you, I'm going to be like, that's not fair. That's not fair. But when it come to me, everybody get crickets. That motherfucker Stephen A. on his own. That, respectfully, excuse my language, that's fucked up. Amen. I'm on my own. When number one, we know I'm right. Number two, we know the perspective that I'm coming from is real and it's authentic. Number three, he set this up.
Number three, he set this up. And so literally that's the overarching point that I feel like runs under or above, rather, the overarching point above the river of bullshit that everybody wants us to somehow, not everybody, but the pro LeBron folk want us to swim in this little river of bullshit instead of just subscribing to the overarching point, which is that this LeBron James set this up. It's LeBron James's desire to have his son play in the league and all of the backlash that has come as a result. It's the effect of him getting his desire. And so you got your wish, bro. You got your son into the league. Everything that comes as a result, meaning the criticism, you know what I mean? The views of others and opinions of others being shared is a consequence of you getting what you desired. And so if that doesn't make you happy, maybe you should make better decisions for future reference on what you actually desire. Just make sure that it's fair. So that's been the basis of this episode, man. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I just wanted to share that. It is what it is. Share with me in the comment section your opinion. I'd be curious to hear whether you are pro LeBron or pro Stephen A. Smith, kind of stand above the bullshit and that overarching point, or just what your views are, in general. I'd love to hear it. Like the video if you haven't done so already. I'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Take care of yourselves until then. Blessings.